Okay, my name is Natalie Deckel. I would say that normally the identity of an artist, or who the artist is often described in the literature as an individual who has certain skills and a way of visually presenting ideas. However, this is a kind of limited, I think, description of an artist, because it doesn't take into the account all the personal luggage and all the experience that the individual brings with them. So the skill itself is only a dry, it's the application. And more often than that, it's beyond that. The artwork is about the person who creates it, not about the skill. It's about what they bring with them to work. And I think that's why it's so important to understand the artist. When we look on the literature in general, often it's focused on the artwork. And from the artwork there might be implications on who the artist is or who the author is, which seems to be like a roundabout way of talking about somebody's identity through what they've done, not from how it's constructed. When you actually do something, it's as if you got rid of a part of something that was there, and now you're ready to explore another aspect. So I think it's really important to understand where it starts and how it's brought into the art. When you're trying to learn what it's like to draw snow snowy, you become the snow, you feel it so much that it becomes part of you. And then when you stand back, that's somebody else's work. That's that part of you that's already distant from you. So I found that it's really the best to observe these decisions and observations in the actual act of doing it. How do you approach to that experience? How do you actually find who you are as you do that? So I thought I'll take apart the experience and observe elements. And at the moment, I've chosen 7 elements to look at. And obviously it's not enough and it needs to be reviewed, but that's what I'm going to talk about at the moment. I took the issue of line, the way I use line in my work and other artists, and the color. So if we're looking on the line, for instance, this is 3 still images from my film, where I was creating a metamorphosis from a dot to a castle. So obviously there's much more images in between. Look how the line starts obviously from nothing. When you come to the empty space and you start revealing what's happening in it. And slowly the photographic image, which is 3-dimensional, becomes part of it, till it becomes a whole illusion of object in space. And I was thinking that every line, especially as you observe it in animation, is a whole experience of observing the same line evolving, much more than if it was a still image. And I thought every line has an issue of resemblance and difference at the same time. As we all know, psychologically, we can't create the same line exactly the same several times. Even twice, it's almost impossible. There would be some sort of change, some sort of difference. Because the way you apply the line, your thoughts, the way you bend above the table for several hours. We know the material you use, the paper, the pen, it all changes and it becomes part of that line. So even though it's the same, and then we know that it's part of reality that it creates, it's actually little stories about yourself. It's like a small signature, a small statement, and it kind of coalesces and flooding into something else, and it becomes a living history. And even when we look on artists like, for instance, Egon Schiele, we look on his line, and that's a still image. That's a dancer, drawn in 1913. We look on the image just to see the tension in one place, rhythm in another. The dance is not in the pose, because the pose is cut off, is disabled in the image by the fragmentation. But the dance is there in the line, in the way it's applied, in the way the line is dancing, and you can almost feel the sensitivity of the line. It's like a living creature, talking for itself almost. It's really paradoxical, because you're the author of the line, and yet it's alive on its own. It's got its own personality. And it's this kind of talk, especially with the painting, when you struggle to explain what you want from it to be, and it talks back and telling you, no, that's how it works, because that's how materials respond. It's almost alchemical. So on one hand, the line distinguishes something from nothing. On the other hand, it's in itself is a language. So it's not only a barrier, it's communication. And it's paradoxical in itself. And you're trying to understand the spaces, because they become living creatures as well, and the way it creates something. So it's like different levels of communication at the same time. For me, you know the saying that Michelangelo once said that if you take a piece of marble, the sculpture is already in it. All you need to do is unfold it by taking things apart. And I think it's the same with line. Once you take a pen, it's like magical. It already has everything in it. All you need to do is follow it and see what happens. It's got everything that you need to just discover. But you are the mediator as an artist, and it's your personal contribution to see what's happening. Because of the pressure you apply, the posture and everything, the physical existence of you as a mediator creates the impact and the final effect. And more than that, since even not two shapes are the same, and it's kind of difference and language at once, and it creates individuality by its mere existence. Once there's a dot on the space, it's got a personality. It's got a presence that has to be referred to. And I think it's not referred to enough in the research. I haven't seen yet research in where people explore what it means to be a dot on the space and how the artist refers to it. So I took one of my films, after I finished drawing the first one, I took my own characters and interviewed them, along with the well-known critics of animation like Paul Wells and Leslie Esther, and asked them what it's like to become animated, what it's like to become a horse when you started from a dot, and you suspended several thousand frames till you get a move done. And it was really fascinating to see that from a different perspective, and it's kind of talking to yourself, but not, because the individual, as you create any single mark on the paper, the silence of the paper is changed, and it automatically creates an atmosphere. And I think everything from the scratch of the ink you choose, or the color or the paint, automatically creates that kind of presence that is uniquely yours, even if you haven't done anything with it.